What's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 3 of the Cuzzo Podcast with Double L. I'm your host, Double L, and today is a solo episode. I know the last two episodes were I had some guests. First, I had my sister and her boyfriend, and then my wife. So today, I want to create a episode talking about behind the why of why I started this podcast. So I did what everybody else would basically do. I just asked ChatGPT, "Hey, ask me some questions about why I started the podcast," and I'm gonna try my best to answer them. So I have some questions I'm gonna go through, and yeah, come along for the ride as I answer these. I try to be as genuine as and sincere as possible. So if hopefully it resonates with some of you guys, and you guys would want to consume more of the content. So without further ado, here we go. Let's see the heart behind it. I've always liked media, photography since a very little with the disposable cameras, Kodak cameras back in the day. Having to go to Walmart or Walgreens or whatever disposable camera facility that will, you know, get you the pictures. I'm blanking on the word, but yeah, I've always been fascinated with photography and then videography. I took a class in sixth grade, I think, and it was so we would go around school and record different things and make videos for like their morning announcements and stuff. So videography kind of came into play throughout the years, recording different things, and then you know, I don't know. One day, I think the biggest factor that brought me to where I'm at now is just man. There's not many places you can go to just have community and just listen to different people's perspectives without it being so one-sided. You know, I think that's kind of the biggest thing that I would like to be able to create is to be able to talk to different people, and just get to know. Like, I think there's so much divisiveness in our world, not just in our country. I think just in the world in general, is so much divisiveness that we seem to forget or we don't really think that we're very similar. Like, I think we walk a lot of the same paths, you know? So if we listen to, mainstream media or live our lives through Instagram posts and movies, I think we lose that community, that connection to know that the person beside me, to my left and my right, is going through similar things that I'm going through. And that's kind of how I look at cousins. Like we're cousins, we're family, but our parents might have been completely different, you know, like different upbringing. One was more lax than others. So, like, it's almost like we're cousins, but we're also really good friends. And hence the name, the Cuzzo Podcast. That's kind of the whole purpose of it is to get together like you're getting together with your favorite cousin and, hey, how's it going? With all going, this is going on now. This is what happened. Man, did you hear about that? Yeah, yeah, that, whatever it is, you know, that's kind of my whole thought process behind the name. I think it's catchy. My cousin Jackie, who she's a nurse, super busy, super busy. We were supposed to work on the podcast together, and that door's still open, but she has a lot of transitionings right now. And I just said, well, I'm just going to start, and whenever she's ready, if she's still interested and wants to partake, hey, the door's always open. So that's kind of where another reason why I was calling the Cuzzo Podcast, because I was supposed to actually co-host with one of my cousins, but just timing didn't work out. And, and I had asked like one or two more people about potentially doing the podcast together. And, I know another cousin of mine, he actually started his own podcast called the 9 to 5 podcast. So if you guys are on YouTube, I believe he's on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. I think he's on that platform. So he gets together with his friends and talks about sports or and they no filters. They just go at it. So yeah. So definitely check him out. I know we talked about it, but I think he already had something in the works. And I just woke up one day and I was like, I have to do it for myself because I just think that if you're always waiting for somebody to do it with you, then you might be waiting for a long time. And that was me for years. Um, Before this, I was in the process of getting into real estate photography. Went and got my drone license, camera, lenses. I mean, you name it. I was like ready to get into it. And then, my son was born and he kind of took priority, but at the same time, I just let it go. And I was kind of going through a course and I think I put too much emphasis on the course. I think I did not do enough of the work myself. Instead of, oh, I need the course, I need the course. The course was good because it, you know, gave some great information and great trainings, a lot of walkthroughs and stuff. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to continue with the course just because with everything going on with my son and just having to back away and some other things. But yeah, it was great. But I got to a point where I was like, okay, I can start reaching out to agents. I was trying to make sure I was doing everything perfect versus just doing something. So yeah, so it's kind of more of the background of where like I fell into a podcast because I remember talking with a bunch of my cousins. I was like, oh, I think it'd be cool to start a podcast. I think it'll be good to do that. And everybody's like, yeah, do it. You talk a lot, or yeah, I've always been a very people person. I can you know talk to whoever really. Sometimes my wife's like, how do you just do that? How do you just like walk up to somebody and just like say some randomness and they just have a full fledged conversation? I'm like, yeah, man, I'm just being me. I'm not trying to be, anybody else but me. Yeah, but yeah, but the like I said, the theme behind this podcast is to create community. To bring different walks of life and share the similarities and see maybe the differences and what can we do to learn from each other because at different cultures we tend to handle things differently, and I think that's what community is about. It's like when you used to go to school, you were in school and you have friends that came from all over the place and you're like, oh, we did this. Oh man, my family's never done that. But that's kind of cool, and it's just good to have that community, have that backing. So that's kind of the whole purpose of this podcast. And of course, there are things that I would like to talk about, themes, maybe things that come up in comments and do an episode on this. So, God willing, everything progresses forward good, we'll definitely get there. So, but yeah, that's kind of the heart behind it. It wasn't something that just like started, overnight. It's been probably 6 months of like, oh man, I want to start a podcast. I want to start a podcast. Made a logo, asked somebody, but then it never happened until I was like, you know what, I'm gonna start. And actually, funny thing, I bought sound card from TikTok. That was supposed to be my starter setup, and I still have it. It's not what I use predominantly, but that's kind of how it all started. That little sound card progressed into some other things, and yeah, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna start streaming. I'm gonna start doing a podcast. So now I currently stream a few nights a week, and on TikTok and Twitch, and then I also record a podcast. Try to record once a week and have it available the next day. So yeah, I think that's actually how it all started. It all started with me buying something on TikTok and then researching, oh, what do I need this? And then it turned into my mics and the cameras and lights and green screens and everything else in between. So yeah, but yeah, that's kind of the heart behind it, and actually a little bit of probably question number two, which is what is the podcast about? Yeah, I think I already touched on that. It's the core of it is bringing community, beliefs, faith. I am just my belief. I am a Christian, but I'm not perfect. So, and I think we sometimes as Christians we try to be as perfect as possible, but we all fall short. So I'm a firm believer of that. And but I try to grow and be the best I can every single day. That's all I can do. You know, and that's all we all can do. But yeah, talk about those questions. You know, have people from different walks of faith. Different things. Different beliefs and understand. Get to understand not that I'm trying to deter you from your faith, sorry, or change you. It's just like, what would you do in this instance? Like, how would you approach it and find commonality? I think we can't get. I heard once you can't get to higher ground without finding common ground. So and I believe in that. I believe that if you want to help people, you have to meet them where they are and then elevate each other, not just yourself, each other, because that's kind of the whole purpose of it is to grow and change together. So yeah, and then support each other too. Support each other in your goals. I think the worst thing you could do for somebody is laugh at their goals. Honestly, I think if you're a person that walks around laughing at somebody's goals, um, I think for me, I'd lose a lot of respect for you because you don't know where that goal came from. You may not like it. You don't have to like it. You may not even agree with it. You might think it's dumb. That's fine, 100%. But don't laugh at anybody's goals because that might be the one thing that's holding them together, and you laughing at them might be the one thing that can destroy them. Never laugh at anybody's goals. No, sorry, to get too serious there for a minute, but it's just one thing that kind of drives me crazy. And you're seeing, you know, people laughing at your goals and stuff. That's dumb. Let's see. What to expect? I think to expect from this podcast is genuine conversations, real like a real talk, as like people like to say. Just don't be afraid to share and just be vulnerable and transparent about things. I'm not trying to out anybody's information. If I ask a question and you don't like it, or like, hey, I don't want to talk about it, that's fine. I'm not gonna press the envelope because clearly maybe you're not ready to talk about it, or it's none of my business, none of our business. So that's kind of the environment I want to set up. I want to set up a place where people can come talk and mutually respect each other, because I think that's another thing that's lacking in today. We don't respect each other enough. We you're not better than me. I'm not better than you. And if I show you respect, just reciprocate that. You know, a lot of battles are fought in today's world because it's just no respect. But yeah, let's see. But sometimes you'll get solo episodes. If I have something that I want to talk about directly to my audience, or I try to bring in different people. Like I reach out to some people on TikTok, some creators in conversation with, just getting together and talking about their journey. I'm also trying to grow my content creation skills and footprint on different platforms. So just like have those conversations with them. What have you learned? What have you overcome? What do you start over again? What would you do? Yeah, so stuff like that is kind of like what to expect. Some episodes might be emotional, some might be serious, some might be maybe a little bit I want to say controversial, not confrontational, controversial. But at the end of the day, I'm not trying to stick one side or the other. I try to walk my life as in the middle as possible. I might have some beliefs on one side more than the other, on whatever spectrum you want to put that on. It's not just political or religion based, or what I think about this. I'm just gonna have my opinion, and I'll respect yours, you respect mine, and we just we move on. I try to record every Wednesday, and I try to post it the following day in the morning. I also have Sundays open to record. So if I double up, you'll get an episode every Thursday and every Monday. So and you can listen to that on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. So do have a YouTube channel. It's called Call Me Double L. That's where I post my streaming content and my podcast content. Yeah, I'm just mixing the both right now. Just so, if I get a big enough following, I'll probably work on separating it. But right now, everything's kind of mixed. Yeah. So that's what to expect. And I'm always open to suggestions. I've reached out to friends. Hey, listen to the episode. Tell me what you think. What can I do? Like I know for me, even I just share a little bit my posture. I always see my posture is kind of slouched over. So I'm trying to autocorrect myself as I'm sitting here the entire time. So yeah, that's kind of like the what to expect. I promise this episode's not going to be an hour long. I'll leave those for like when I have a guest and we actually have stuff we can kind of go through. This probably should have been episode 1, but here we are, episode 3. And I hope you guys have enjoyed episode 1 and 2. Rosa and Sylvain and my wife Kaya did an amazing job on the first 2 episodes, helping me out and answering my questions and just being, real and genuine. And I definitely appreciate you guys. I'm excited to have you guys back, in a few episodes, and we'll have another topic now that we kind of did the interview portion. Now it's more of a theme. And that's kind of also what I want to do. Like if I have you on for the first episode, it's probably gonna be more like an interview. Kind of get the background, the goals, that way like we come back a few weeks, few months, a year, however long, come back and hey, we talked about like Sylvain talked about having a fight because he's certified to be a Muay Thai fighter now. We talked about that. So like when they come back, if they choose to come back, we'll talk about how the fight went, or like, is he still training for the fight? And then talking about trips they want to take on. Same thing with my wife; she has a lot of stuff going on, so that's kind of the whole purpose of it. It's to grow. Mm, So yeah, let's see. Next question is the big picture. Again, I want to be able to connect and then build a place in a community that you know every I shouldn't say common people because that sounds kind of mean. But like, I love like Joe Rogan's podcast. I love Theo Von's podcast. They're two of the probably the biggest podcasts I listen to. Now I listen to multiple podcasts too, like Real Talk. I listen to Andy and DJ and stuff like that. So I listen to all these big podcasts, but they're pretty big podcasts, right? So mine's like, hey, I do some ride sharing here in the area, and I talked to one of my riders, and he's like, "Oh, man, how can I get on the podcast?" I was like, "Man, that'd be cool. Like maybe create like a forum, and click on the link, fill out information. You want to hop in, do a podcast? We could do it virtually. So man, that'd be cool because there's just like so many people, different walks of life, different situation. Him in particular, he's like a single dad that had to start over from getting through a divorce and having to basically rebuild his whole life. So I think that'd be a good episode to have him on. I still have his information. I'm definitely gonna be reaching out. So he may be like in the next 3 episodes. So definitely be on the lookout for that. I think that'll be a good perspective and I just get different perspectives, but the big picture, just build. This is my belief and my belief only. Only, sorry. It's just helping everyday people and bringing together different cultures and religions and having those talks. But said just to, like I said, I'm a Christian, so I want to glorify my Heavenly Father in everything that I do. And I try to strive for that even more so now than in the past. It's a definitely up and down battle for me. Um, I didn't grow up like going to church. My family was Catholic for the most part, but we only went, a handful of times a year. Easter, Christmas. That's about it. So try not to get emotional, but you know, the reason I think it's so important for you to have community and have conversations is because my dad, when he my dad decided that he wanted to remove himself from the world, and he decided, he went down that route. I don't want to get too graphic or anything, but man, I remember the last conversation I had with him, and it wasn't a conversation. He walked in my room, handed me a little money, and I asked him what was that or what's that for? And he said, "That's for you." That was it. You know, that was it. That's the last thing, the last conversation that my dad. No, he was my stepfather, but he raised me from the age of 3. He was a hard man to be around at times. Wasn't perfect just like everybody else, and yeah, but that haunted me for such a long time. I mean, it would keep me up at night because I'm like, man, I wish I would have told him I loved him one more time. You know, like what could have that done for my dad? And then, my grandma, she passed away in 2019. So at that time, I had a baby. My oldest was 1, and I wanted, oh, my grandma, here's here's my daughter. Like, oh, you're gonna, she's gonna be. And then unfortunately, she was on dialysis for 6 years, and she lived know, dialysis one day, chilling at the house the next. Then she would kind of do stuff sometimes, but a lot of hospital scares. I wish I talked to her more. I really do. I got the call on Friday. Grandma's in the hospital. It's like any other time. Oh, same thing. I was like, okay, well, keep me posted. It was my daughter's birthday we're celebrating her birthday that that Saturday. And I called my uncle after the birthday party and I said, "Hey, how's grandma?" And she's like, not doing too good. I said, "Okay, well, keep me posted." I was like, "You need me to go over?" He's like, "No, we'll let you know." I get a phone call at like 6 in the morning saying, "Hey, um, you gotta you need to come over here." And I did. And at that point I believe she had coded once or twice. And basically, long story short, she was on basically life support, but she was on a ventilator and medicine was keeping her blood pressure stable, but it was really low. And I walked in the room and she had just woke back up. And then one of my aunts asked, I was standing to, I guess, her left, because the bed was to my left. And do you know who that is? And she's like, yeah, that's Luis. Last conversation I had with my grandma. It's affected me, and it's made it to where sometimes it's hard for me to even build relationships because, man, it's so hard to, let's say, go through grief. Go through grief. It's so hard, but it's worth it to go through it as far as like building yourself back up and going through that process. But it's hard to go through it. But that's kind of why communication for me is like, hey, this is what I want to build, because how many people are out there right now and have lost somebody and they don't talk to anybody about it. And it's just eating them up inside because every day they face it, or they try to hide it like I did. I worked myself, into two jobs, so I don't have to think about it. And then eventually it just came crashing down. And again, just my belief. I was at an event and they had a Sunday non-denominational Christian service, July 3rd of 2014. That's when I gave my life to Jesus and became a Christian. Again, not perfect. This is just, I'm sharing my story, which is, if you're ever on my podcast, I want you to share your story. Your story doesn't have to be my story. You don't have to be a Christian to come on this podcast, you know, because I want to create that community. Now, well, I welcome you, and if you're open to it, hey, let's have that conversation for sure. I'm not against that either, but that's not my That's not my goal. My goal is to build community. But long term, I would like to. Right now, is just me and my setup here in my apartment. I can't see behind the apartment because I have some effects and green screens and stuff like that. So just to keep you from the chaos of my three kids. But I'm sorry, I keep saying but, and I keep looking up and down. The camera's right here, and then I keep looking at the screen, looking at my notes. I'm sorry if I'm all over the place. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. And leave it in the comments saying you look around too much. That way I know that you guys um are trying to help me. But yeah, no, it'd be cool. I would like to be able to do more in person community episodes. I think those are more intimate because you're like right with the person and you see their reaction and and the virtual is great too. Especially far distances. Like my sister's in New York, so it was kind of hard to it's kind of hard to get together when you live a few states away, and so that door is always open. You don't have to be in my state to be on the podcast. We can have it from wherever. Send we'll communicate and have send a link and we'll make it happen. So, but yeah, it's kind of crazy to think that this all started from a little sound card, and now we're lights, mics, software, a little bit of everything, and there's more to come too. I'm excited to grow it. I'm excited to have a footprint where people can come and grow, and understand that it's not just them out there. There's multiple people that are facing the fight. You know, and I'm not saying don't listen to the podcast. Listen to them. Like I said, I love those podcasts that I mentioned. If I were to ever have my pick of podcasts I would want to do, like if I had like a big time podcast personality reach out to me, I think it'd be Theo Vaughn. I think it'd be really cool to do an episode with Theo. He's so amazing. I enjoy it. Just how he just, man, like he can go in there serious and it'll last all of 5 seconds because he's just going to say something off the cuff and it's going to be like, and that's kind of how I am. I'm kind of like that too. So yeah, I think that's basically all I really wanted to cover. Thank you if you made it this far into the podcast. I really do appreciate you guys listening to it on Spotify and watching my TikToks. Also have a TikTok channel called the Cuzzo Podcast. Definitely drop by, hit a follow, and if you're into gaming as well, I do have another TikTok channel called Call Me Double L. That's where I do my gaming stuff / kind of personal goofy stuff. So yeah, let's see. Am I missing anything? But yeah. So thanks for watching. I always want this to be a humbling experience for everybody, especially me, and keep me humble. And I want to spread love and positivity and a little tough love too, because we all need it. We all need somebody to, help us kind of get back in line with a lot of things. I'm not saying that it's going to be me, but you never know. Somebody that might come on the podcast might say the things that you've been needing to hear. So yeah, if you haven't listened to episode 1 and 2, like I said, they are available on all the major streaming platforms, like I said. And if you listen to this one, again, thank you. Thank you so much. Every share, every comment, it means the world to me. And like I said, I'll probably be creating some kind of forum that if you share this with somebody and they want us to be on a podcast, I think that way you can get in contact with me, or they can send me a DM on Instagram or TikTok, and we take it from there. We'll take it one step at a time. So that's it for me. Again, thank you guys so much. I definitely appreciate your time. I don't take it for granted. And I do become a follower of me. Just know that I take your follow very seriously, and I want to hear from you guys. And let me know how I can make this better, and let me know what you like, what you don't like, and we'll grow this together. So for now, that's all I have. Have a great night.